Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Thursday. It's Thursday. Welcome to Thursday. How is everyone today? How was your Wednesday? How was your hump day? I'm a little off today, I admit. It's one of the it's one of those what they call, well, I don't even know if it would be like an anniversary. Anniversaries feel like they're happy, right? But um it's the eighth, well, it's the eighth year of when my mom was diagnosed with her cancer. And it was like I was mentioning yesterday in the self-care area. Good morning, baby sibling. It was like I was mentioning yesterday. Today was actually the harder day. Older sibling and I we sat down and talked about it for a bit. But today was actually the harder day because today was the day I knew my mother was going to die. And so it still kind of sits weird with me, but I'm getting better at it. I'm not crying yet, so But I mean, I was watching the show This Is Us last night or yesterday, and they're almost to their last episode. I'm so sad. It's such a well-written show, such a good show. I know a lot of people can't get into it. A lot of people don't want to because it does bring all the feels, but I think the reason it brings all the feels is because no matter how many episodes you watch, there's always something in there that you can read that resonates with somebody, right? And so, good morning, older sibling. Wow, there's a lot of cards that just fell out. So, but they were talking about, because there was a scene, and I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but they were just talking and saying, she's all, it's so sad, and he's all, but basically, to paraphrase, what he was saying is that it's good that it's sad because that meant it was a good thing. It was a happy thing. It was a thing that you were just kind of like, oh, okay. And so I kind of am changing the narrative, and I had a long talk with baby sibling yesterday too, about some things that I needed to do to just kind of move forward in my life, and a cord cutting, if you will. And we talked a little, not necessarily about that, but we talked about how, instead of looking back on things negatively, to change the narrative, right? I mean, I'm always telling you guys to change the narrative and be more positive and this and that, put a better spin on it, but that doesn't always mean I listen to myself. So, I mean, how many of us are good at giving advice and not taking it? So, and other people say, wow, what you tell me is so great. And I'm thinking, well, great, but then you have to take your own advice too. If people are telling you you're giving good advice, and you sit there and wonder, well, why isn't anything changing? It's like, think about it, and maybe you should take your own advice. So anyways, let's get going. So these are just the regular cards. I have the affirmators deck today, but there is some things I want to talk about that may or may not lead into the affirmators, or may or may not lead out of it. So oh, that's funny. I keep seeing this everywhere today. Good vibes. Deep breaths, relax. It is going to be okay. Deep breaths and relax. It is going to be okay. So it is going to be okay. Again, these are just cards so that, as people are coming on for the live, they're not just staring at my face. But good vibes. All right. Even when it's hard, start to do gratitude. Gratitude can help kind of rework that whole situation and go, oh, okay, this is what I needed. This is exactly what I needed. So, it can bring you back to that place, right? So again, deep breaths, relax, and remind yourself it is going to be okay. One of my father's favorite sayings, this too shall pass. So sometimes you just got to weather that storm until it does. Wander. I like to wander. Not all who wander are lost. Not all who wander are lost. Written about Aragorn, the true king, it symbolizes how a destiny may not always be accepted, but cannot always be ignored either. Okay, so that was my takeaway, clearly, from the comment on the card. But not all those who wander are lost. And that's true. I actually put that on my backpack when I went to England several years ago. And it was funny because it was quite the conversation starter. Because people would see it and go, because everybody, right, you put things on your backpack and people want to read it. So I sewed it on. And there were two gentlemen on the tube who were just reading it going, oh, where's that from? And I wanted to tell them so bad, but then my stop came up and it's like, okay, I gotta get off. But I was also very shy. And I realize now it's like, I should have just told them. It's from the Lord of the Rings. But it's perfect because I was wandering a lot, but I wasn't lost because I knew I just wanted to go. I just wanted to be. And that was kind of his thing. But you know what? You cannot run from your destiny. You cannot run from what is meant to be in your life or to become a part of your life. You know, some people run towards it. Some people try to run away from it. But eventually it's going to catch up with you. And the question is, if it's something good, do you really want to be running from it? You know, I mean, are you running from it because you're scared, you're afraid, you don't know what's going to happen, maybe the unknown freaks you out? Then just, you know, let it catch up to you. If you're not in a place where you feel like you were able to run towards it, let it catch up to you. And, you know, give yourself that time to really kind of just soak in the idea of something beautiful happening in your life, right? You may be running from something completely amazing. And then when it catches up to you, you're sitting there going, oh, well, why was I running? Fear. Fear's a bitch. Fear's a liar. So don't listen to fear. Just, you know, wander. Because remember, not all who wander are lost. But again, I'm going to read this one more time. Written about Aragorn, the true king, it symbolizes how a destiny may not always be accepted, but cannot always be ignored either. All right. Ooh, volcano. Disruptive, angry, dangerous, yet beautiful and creative. Tough moments. You know, the way I wrote this, it looks like too ugh. But tough moments in our lives can shape us or destroy us. The choice is up to you. Are you the mountain that blows its top, or are you the crater? Oh, wait, sorry. I cannot read this, and I'm going to tell you why. I used the wrong kind of ink. It is so light. But, see, even baby sibling likes that one quote. That's my favorite. It's still on that backpack. I use it at Comic-Con, every year. It's a fun one. So, because it really gets people thinking. It really gets people thinking. But again, onto the volcano. Tough moments in our lives can shape us or destroy us. The choice is up to you. Are you the mountain that blows its top, or the lava that creates new land? It's your choice. All right, it's your choice. All right. Pura vida. Live free. Or pure life. Like the ticos and ticas of Costa Rica, the path to no stress, no fuss, and no worries is to live within gratitude and not dwell in the negative. There's the gratitude. And so, you know, not to dwell in the negative. Again, are you the mountain that blows its top, or are you the lava that creates new land? So, I like this one. So again, like the ticos and ticas of Costa Rica, the path to no stress, no fuss, and no worries is to live within gratitude and not dwell in the negative. Baby sibling. I cannot see what that symbol is. I wore the wrong glasses today. I'm telling you, when I don't get a lot of sleep, there's a certain pair of glasses I should wear because I can see a lot better. You know, always an excuse. Let's see. The ukulele. Most people die with their music still locked up inside of them. Benjamin Disraeli. I love this one. Good morning, Jessica. So again, most people die with the music still locked inside of them. Do you want to be that person with, and music doesn't necessarily mean literally, guys. It means the voice inside of you, or the joy inside of you, you know. And do we really want to die with all that still trapped in us, with all that unknown that we could be pursuing and going for and moving towards, because we're afraid? What did I just say earlier? Fear is a bitch and fear is a liar. It is. Fear is a liar. It's what holds us back. And sometimes it's a good thing that it holds us back. But when you know something is not a bad thing and you let fear hold you back, that's when it becomes kind of more of a hindrance and an excuse. And we can lean into that if you want. That's your choice. But, you know, don't die with the music trapped inside of you. You know, live out there. Live free. The plumerias. Let's see. Sorry. Though we travel the world over to find the beautiful, we must carry it with us, or we find it not. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So again, though we travel the world over to find the beautiful, we must carry it with us, or we find it not. How many times have we just looked at something and thought, wow, that's really pretty, and blah, 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 and then we just move on? Right? And that happens. It happens. A lot of times there's a lot to take in. So you sit there and you're thinking, yeah, okay. But I mean, look at the card. Okay? I mean, how beautiful is that? And every time you might see a plumeria, which in California you can, other places I'm not sure because it's more of a tropical Hawaiian type flower. But I think what this is saying is that we really need to pay attention to the scenery. You know, the scenery on your journey. I actually wrote this in Hawaiian too, but you know, in here it says life, rebirth, Buddhism, immortality, also charm, grace, and beauty. In Hawaii, it means positivity, status. Oh, I see. In Hawaii, it means positivity or status. In the Hindu religion, it means dedication, devotion. In the Mayan tradition, it means life, rebirth. In the Buddhism tradition, it means immortality. And it also means charm and grace and beauty. Huh. Apparently, I'm pretty thorough when I do these things. So anyways, a lot of times we will be on our journey, right? And we don't know where we're going. We don't know where life is taking us. You know, I always see life as like a series of different journeys. You have your start and your finish line, but then at your finish line, you have a new start line, right? And then you have that little in-between space where you're kind of taking that moment to suck it all in and just kind of absorb it all. But there's a lot of times when we take these journeys and we miss the scenery. We're so hyper-focused on what our end goal is that we miss the journey. We miss the scenery. Think about when you're in school, right? All you can think about is, oh my God, I can't wait to graduate. I'm so excited to graduate. But what about the people you've met along the way? What about the things you've learned? Maybe you dropped a class because it wasn't for you. Maybe you changed your entire major, or if you're in high school, maybe you just, you moved in different directions from other people that you thought were always going to be with you. Whatever it is, value those things. I never realized how much I took for granted where my friends and I would sit at lunch. Very nice trees. I mean, there were a lot of just different patches of grasses, and every group of people seemed to take over. But when I really started to think back on it, I realized that our little patch of grass was like the island of misfit toys. It seemed like everybody who didn't fit into a clique ended up in here. But in a way, we were our own clique, but we were just open. Anybody could join us. Anybody could pop by, like talk to us, whatever. I mean, that doesn't mean other people weren't like that. But a lot of people get so into themselves and to their groups that they forget to look on the outside. And that's what was so beautiful about this group of people. Is that, I mean, I'm not trying to toot our horn, but what I'm saying is that, we were a place where everybody who was deemed different, okay, whether we dressed different, thought different, had different haircuts, maybe we didn't fit into the social norms, we gathered here. And, in high school, it can be a very rough place to navigate, especially when you're going through your own things that nobody knows about. It can be even harder. But when you find a group of people, pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. Think about the conversations you've heard, or, the different people you've met that may have come in and out like waves in the ocean, right? They're the ones that really kind of add to that scenery. It wasn't just a couple of trees and some bushes, grass, and rocks. It was the people that made it beautiful, not the landscape. So just something to pay attention to, something to think about. The sun. Even in your darkest moments, the sun continues to shine. Keep moving forward. Do not give up. So even in your darkest moments, the sun continues to shine. Keep moving forward. Ho'omau. Ho'omau. Keep moving forward. Do not give up. All right. I know there's a lot of times when we just like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot. I'm just over it. So, again, I'm not sure how long today's will be. I mean, there really is no set time when I do these, but like I mentioned at the very beginning, I'm still a little off today. It was like I mentioned, I had a really good talk with baby sibling yesterday and about changing the narrative to the positive, taking the negative things and saying, you know what? Okay, good morning, baby bear. I'm going to make this a positive thing. And I'm glad that we had that talk yesterday, because as I mentioned, today is it marks the 8th year of when my mom was officially diagnosed with cancer. She was actually diagnosed with cancer on the 14th, but today was the day we found out what she had. And I was hopeful until today. And And like I said, I touched a little bit on it yesterday in the self-care portion of this week's talks. But I feel like today is really the day that hurts me the most. The one that I really struggle, because I knew she was going to die. I knew that we only had a certain amount of time with her, and even though they said 6 months to 2 years, older siblings said, well, you have 6 months to 2 years. And I said, no, she's going to be gone before fall. And she was. She died on the 12th of September. It did. Baby sibling, it really, really did. But it did teach me to change the narrative. And it was like I said when I was watching This Is Us last night or yesterday, there was just how they were talking about, it's so sad. But when I go back now and I heal a lot of the stuff that, every parent-child relationship has weird shit that happens, nothing is perfect. So I started refocusing, or I started changing the narrative really on, the way I looked at things. Sometimes we feel like, well, why does this have to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And I realized that there was something. Okay, so I'm gonna jump into the metaphysical for a moment, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm shifting into a space in my life now where I'm not gonna hide it as much as I do, because I'm worried about people not jiving with it. Don't worry about where the message is coming from. Focus on the message itself. Okay, because I know that there's a part of me that needs to show this side, because there are other people struggling out there because they feel like they're alone and there's nobody who's listening, nobody who's paying attention. People just saying, oh, okay, well, you're into that stuff. Well, you know what? That stuff is actually practiced by a lot of different people. And like I said, I'm a polytheist, which means I have a lot of deities at my table, including God. And I mention him because, like, the main guy, right? Or woman. But I have quite a few. And not a just in case scenario. Somebody actually said, oh, is that just in case? And they said it as a joke. And I know that because they don't believe in anything. But they said it as a joke. And I said, no, it's because everybody has a different function. Everybody does something different. And I had to do a cord cutting. Wait, God, I did that this morning. I cannot say it. Cord cutting. I had to do a cord cutting yesterday. But when I was talking to baby sibling about it, I told her I had to do this, and I was just so negative about it. I was like, well, why am I being saddled with this? Why am I burdened with this? And then she's like, well, you have to look at it in a different way. And so it's like I mentioned in the past, in other perspectives. When we have a negative thing going on, we have to learn to change the perspective. And she told me, she's like, you have to change the narrative. And she says, you have to change the way you're looking at this. You have to look at it in a more positive light. And so yesterday, after I hung up and I started doing this, we did kind of have this moment of clarity where I was a little more positive about it before I hung up. But when I started journaling, I journaled that, in the end, after having gotten all that anger out, I realized that, it was an honor to be tasked with, it was an honor to be given that task. Because I realized, for as strong as I thought the women that came before me were, because of them and the things I had to heal, to move away from the things they were never able to heal, I realized that I was much stronger. And that's why it was given to me. Because I was standing on their shoulders. I was standing on the shoulders of many great women. And when I realized that narrative and I changed it, I thought, wow, there really is a difference when you look at something in a more positive way, even if it's the ickiest thing in the world. Let's change the narrative on something else for people. Because there's going to be a lot of people, well, no, there's so many things that just, just make me mad and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. A gazillion years ago, my ex-boyfriend, not the last one, but the one before that, I caught him cheating on me. Okay, it wasn't the first time he cheated on me, and I knew it because my spidey instincts sadly go crazy and just, I know things that, I don't know, I just know things. But it was the first time I'd caught him. And somebody had already warned me. One of his friends warned me and said, don't get mad, but we went over here and, for Memorial Day, and you really should consider finding someone that respects you. And I kind of knew already what had probably happened that weekend, but I didn't want to believe it because I had low self-esteem. I had zero worth, and I was just afraid of being alone. And so, which, by the way, I proved in magnitude that I can do that. Be single eternally. But, then I caught him. I actually caught him cheating on me. And if you want to make this even more fun, I caught him cheating on me in a porta potty at a concert. Ugh, I know, right? That's gross. I mean, I was more angry at the fact that a porta potty would make me cry whenever we'd have family tailgates, because it was so sad. It was just like, oh my God, what's happening? And it was embarrassing because there was a woman standing outside going, wow, they're having a good time. But I saw him go in. And I realized then, even though I made one more mistake after that, and, well, actually it wasn't a mistake because I knew I didn't want to be with him, but he put me in a position where I felt like I was kind of stuck. And I tried, and then I thought, no, I deserve better. But now I can look back and change the narrative on that and not be angry. I mean, I haven't been angry about it in a while, but I wanted to pick something that would really kind of stand out in people's minds. If I had understood how to change the narrative back then, I would have said, you know what? This is your biggest sign to move on. Because this person does not respect you. In fact, if you really want to look at that, they didn't even respect the person they had just met and started going to town with. I mean, literally just met. And in a porta potty. I mean, gross, right? Find a tree or something. But, there was zero respect for women, period. And I realize now that if I had known back then how to change the narrative on that, I would have seen it, and I wouldn't have been so heartbroken for as long as I was. It hurt. Yeah, it hurt. It did break my heart because I give 100% of me, or 110% of me, when I'm in a relationship. And I don't always seem to get it back. And I can put a lot of that on myself because, when you pick people that you feel like you can fix, which I didn't realize I was doing, but I did, because I couldn't fix myself. And now that I know, whenever and if ever I do have another relationship, I'll be more functional. It'll be a brand new experience for me because I'm not the same person I was the last time I was in a relationship or all those other relationships. I'm a completely different person now. I have a different mindset. I have a different, head game going into this. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm still not going to have those human emotions where you're like, oh my God. But the difference is that now I'm learning, and I'm really kind of talking this out with you guys as we go along, because literally I'm making this up as I go along. Not the cheating part that I caught him in, but I'm literally making this up as I go along, all the stuff that's coming out of my mouth, because it's dawning on me now that if we learn to look at a situation and change the narrative, it doesn't have to be as bad as it feels. It's gonna hurt. Yeah, there's gonna be situations where it just fucking hurts and there's nothing you can do about it except go through it to grow through it. But changing the narrative might also help us remove the what ifs and the should haves. I mean, I have a lot of friends around me who have been married. Some are still married, some are divorced, a lot of family members. I've never been married. But then I thought, you know what? If I had gotten into that relationship, because he did ask me to marry him, but that's the position I'm talking about. He asked me to marry him in the middle of a restaurant. And because I'm a nice person, I didn't say no, because I didn't know how to say no. I didn't want to embarrass him. And I know it was this huge romantic gesture. And under any other circumstances, if he hadn't have been the person that he turned out to be, it would have been wow. Wow. It was like the dream thing, right? The ring in the champagne glass, all that stuff. I was 23 years old at the time. That was a long time ago. And he was older. He was older. He was like 11 years older. But I didn't know what to do. So I said yes. And fake tears. Was one good thing I was that good at drama. I can just cry on demand. And no, that does not mean when I do it now I'm faking it. But that day I felt like I had to because I didn't want to embarrass him. But a week later, I stopped because I couldn't do it anymore. And I was just like, I can't fake my way through this just because I want to wear a wedding dress. Even back then, I had enough smarts to figure that one out, despite my desperation to be a part of something bigger than just myself. And I let go. And it was hard. It was hard. The next relationship, unfortunately, did not work out either, but it was much better, and it really, there was more respect there on both sides, but, we were navigating something that was difficult, and, it didn't work out, and that's okay, and that's when I decided that I just needed to be with myself for a while. I didn't realize how long I'd be with myself. It's been a long, long time. But I realized slowly over the course of that time, I was finding ways to heal. And like I said, I used to be a stage 5 resistor. Now I might be a stage 3 one now because I still resist, but I'm getting better at it. I'm moving back down to just 0 resistance. And so maybe a stage 2. But I'm learning to listen more to myself, to other people. I'm learning to heed what they say and to take that advice and say, you know what? Okay, I get it. I totally get it. Let's do this. Because it's better. What is it? The quote, right? It's better to have an oops than a what if. Better an oops than a what if. Right? Because we don't know how we can change our own lives. Just by not resisting. Just by saying, okay. And if there is a difficult situation that you're facing, but you don't want to leave it, then change the narrative. I'm so happy and grateful that this is working out now. And maybe it's working out even better. Sometimes weird things make relationships stronger. Sometimes weird things make friendships and family relationships stronger. Sometimes it can be eye-opening perspective for somebody else. Saying, wow, you know what? I mean, baby sibling and I were talking about this. She's never made a secret how hard it was growing up. And I told her, I said, for all of the complaining I ever did in the last couple of months, about all of the negative aspects of my relationship with my mother, I said, I really stopped and looked and said, you know what? It wasn't as bad as it could have been. My mom did her best. She tried. She really, really tried. And that's why I need to do that cord cutting. I had to stop and think about that ritual yesterday because I needed to cut that negative energy off. Because that's what was still feeding it. I needed to set all of us free. I needed to set free the shoulders of the women, or not the shoulders, but I needed to set free the souls of the women whose shoulders I stood on to do this, who gave me strength, who are continually lifting each one of us up in every generation. I think it got a little stagnant between my mom and my grandma, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about either of them. Whatever went on with my grandmother's life, I don't know. I only saw her in the summers when I'd visit Hawaii and occasionally when she'd come out and visit. But she did her best too. And then my mom did her best. And it's just like my dad. My dad did his best to be the best dad he could be for me. Or, I'm sorry, he's still alive, so he's still doing the best he can to be the best dad he can be to me. And I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. And, sometimes we just think, well, how come they do this with so many people, but they don't want to hang out with me? Well, because maybe that's just not what's supposed to happen at the time. We grow and we learn and we find new paths of our own. Maybe it's to push you in a direction to live your life, not live it through everybody else. To get out there and have your own adventures. And I'm ready for that now because I realize, you know what, it's like maybe I'm not in the position I want to be where in every single relationship in my life, whether it's my friends or my family. But maybe what it's pushing me towards is saying, hey, you know what? Maybe this is life telling you that you just need to go have a great big adventure. You know, you need to open your heart to let people in. You know, maybe that special someone will come in. And to allow them to see you and allow them to get to know you. Not everybody's going to be a hit. Some are going to be a miss. But the more opportunity we give ourselves, the bigger the wiggle room we give ourselves, we have no idea how many people can come in. Baby Sibling and I were talking about how it's fun to meet new people. And, you know, I thought, gosh, you know, I'm going to make an effort. You know, Comic-Con is right around the corner for us. But there's like a gazillion people there all the time. And if there's one thing I've noticed is that, you know, when we're waiting in line, every so often, you're waiting in line for so long. You just start talking to people. You start making friends. In fact, to this day, one of my favorite conversations was I was talking to a young man. He was on the spectrum. And I only know that because I think his caregiver who was with him, who accompanied him to Comic-Con, was a little concerned that he was bothering me. Because she's like, you know, she put it very gently as to not let him know. But boy, we had the best conversation about Marvel. We really, really did. I learned some stuff. And I gave him new perspective on certain things. Because we were talking about the whole merger of like Marvel and Fox. Because Fox at the time, I believe it was Fox, owned like, or Fox and Sony, I believe, owned like Deadpool and X-Men and all that. And we were talking about how they're going to bring them into the Marvel universe under Disney. And we just kept going until finally it was our time to go in. And then, you know, they were gone. But I met somebody new that day. And it was just such a fun conversation. And I thought, you know, if I had ignored this person because I could tell that they had difficulties and turned my back and just decided to talk to Sibling, look what I would have missed out on. You know, and I felt bad for older Sibling. I mean, she had other friends of ours to talk to, but it was just like, wow. You know, it was just, and it made me think about that now, because I think, what if? And that's why I don't want to resist anymore, because I don't want those what ifs. I had a great conversation. You know, it really kind of added to the moment. It made me feel smart to be able to talk some of this stuff through, because I realized, whoa, I know more than I thought I did. You know, and they didn't make me feel stupid. There's some, okay, I don't mean this to be mean, and I'm not going to name them, but there are some fandoms out there where they're so cliquey, it's not even funny. Like, if you haven't read a book, or if you haven't done anything, or if you've only seen the TV show, then, you know, talk to the hand. And that gets a little annoying, because I think regardless of if you haven't read books, if somebody's interested in the same thing you're in, just be welcoming. Don't sit there and go, oh, well, okay. You know, and it doesn't matter how long you've been a fan. I will tell you my absolute favorite fandom I belong to, and you're going to die laughing because you're going to be like, wait, what? I love the fact that after watching one season, I put it on Twitter, just finished season 1, super duper excited, hashtag the show, got a reply from someone I don't even know. They're all, welcome, you are now a Whovian. And they hashtagged it. Doctor Who is the best fandom I've ever belonged to. And there may be some people out there who might be cliquey about it. But I just walked into this show, just finished the first season, couldn't believe I did it in one night. You know, because I did. I just got sucked in. I couldn't stop. I was up until like 5 the next morning watching this show. And then can't wait to get to the next one, because the 10th Doctor is my favorite. I love 13. I know, because, you know, the first girl. And I was telling older Sibling, she has her own brand. Okay, all of them had different clothes, bow ties, suits. One even had the sonic screwdriver turned into a sunglasses for a bit. Chucks, Converse, right? She had her own brand. She had her own shirt. And I've worn that shirt from time to time. But I was floored. I was stunned. And I was just like, wow. And so I texted my friend who told me to start watching the show. I said, wow. And she's like, oh yeah. She's, oh, they're great. They're super great. And so, and like I said, it's not anything against other fandoms. Okay. I'm just saying that if you're watching and you notice it, be more open to other people. Okay. Just be more open to other people. Everybody brings something different to the table. Everybody brings a different perspective to the table. And if you shun them or push them away, you might miss that. You might not get, and you might miss the opportunity to meet someone amazing. You know, and so that's just like what I was talking about at the beginning of the conversation when I was talking about our little island of misfit toys where we used to hang out at lunch in high school. So many people missed an opportunity to get to know us. But in their defense, a lot of us missed an opportunity to get to know them. I knew people from all different groups. So I was very, very fortunate. It was just because I was in drama class and, you know, everybody just kind of folded into there. So, you know, and I mean, drama people are just a whole breed in of themselves. So, you know, just to be in that group of people too was just, it's fun. I still talk to a lot of them now. So it's just, stay open. Be open. You know, change the narrative if it's a negative situation. You know, maybe someone's having a bad day. So don't just say, oh God, that person's an asshole. Well, they might be having a bad day. You don't know what they just went through. You know, and even if they are just an asshole, change the narrative. Don't let it ruin your day. Someone cut you off on the road. Oh, maybe they're in a rush to go see somebody. No, maybe someone's dying and they're freaking out or whatever. I mean, there have been times when I've had to go back to San Diego because I don't live far from there, but I've had to drive there because of family emergencies. And the one thing either of my parents would always say is take your time and hurry up. I remember when I got the call from my father, I told my boss when my mom decided to stop her treatment, I said, my mom's stopping her treatment. I just want you to know the minute my dad calls, I'm out of here. I said, I'll let you know, but I'm letting you know I'm out of here. And I wanted to make that a stipulation. I didn't care if I got fired or not because my mom was more important. Being able to say goodbye to my mother was more important because I've had people I know that never got that chance. Older sibling never got that chance with really any of them. She sort of did with her dad, but he was already in kind of a non-lucid state that, you know, was more just, I hope he hears me. But she lost her mother in an operation. She lost her stepmother to a very bad fall. And she never got to say goodbye. Not in person. And granted, my mom, I will share this, okay? Because I know I'm kind of getting off track here. But when my dad made that call, the first thing he said was, Shell, I think it's time. It was like 5:30 in the morning. He said, I think it's time. It turns out it ended up being a few more days because she needed to have that blessing, that blessing of the sick. She was not going to go without that. And it took us that long to get a priest in. But that's a whole nother story. But I remember I got there, I sat down. But what my dad had told me is all, I think it's time, but he's all, take your time getting down here. Be careful. And I thought, okay. And that is kind of stuck in my mind to the fact when I see people racing down the highways and it's like, or even driving like an asshole, I always try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't always, because I'll be honest with you, the number one reason why I yell at other cars is because it freaks me out. It's just a reaction. It's just kind of like, oh shit, well fuck you, you know? It's just because it does. It tenses me up for a moment. But I've learned to let that go. I've learned to be like, okay, you know what, whatever. Maybe they're this, that, or the other. But I did want to share this part. I don't know if my mom had woken up any other time for any other person because I kind of held vigil and stayed in the living room and slept in the living room with her. But because that's where her hospice bed was. But I don't know if she did wake up for anyone else. But when I sat down, I just took her hand in mine thinking that might have been the day that she was going to go. And for a brief moment, she woke up. And all she said to me was, I love you, babe, but why are you here? And I remember just saying, ah. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to say, oh yeah, well, guess what? You're dying, so I'm here. I didn't want to say that, so I'm like, I'll let Dad talk to you about that. And then she was out. And that was the last time I ever spoke to her. But it was such a, it's going to make me cry. It was such a gift to have that. And so that's why I'm always talking about, if you are in a situation that seems so dire and so negative, change the narrative. Turn it into something positive. It may not happen right away. It may not feel like you want to believe it right away. But the more that you remind yourself of this situation, thank you, baby sibling, the more you remind yourself of this situation, the more you are going to see that, you know, instead of holding on to the negative, you should hold on to the positive. My mom swept my depression under the rug because she was embarrassed. We don't talk about that in public, you know, maybe it'll pass. You know, we didn't know enough about mental health back then when I first, you know, told her that I had been diagnosed with depression. But when I change the narrative to that now, I'm able to sit here and say, you know what, even though sometimes it feels like I'm throwing her under the bus, my mom didn't understand me. And somewhere out there, someone else is saying, oh my God, that happened to me. It's the same when I had my abortion. People think that it is the easiest decision women make. It is the hardest decision I have ever made in my life. The hardest decision I've ever made in my life. I know ultimately it was my choice. I did it because I loved somebody else, that same person that cheated on me. I did it because I loved somebody so much and I thought that would make the difference. But ultimately it was my choice. You know, and I have seen metaphysical people, and I was given a message about that it probably wouldn't have ended well anyways. I mean, the whole being a mom thing, not because of me, but just, you know, because it was something I needed. It was just randomly said to me. And you know, if you're watching out there, you know who you are that said it. So, but I was told that, you know, my child would not have grown out of childhood. They would have caught an illness. And I don't know if someone said that to appease me, but this is a person I trust. This is a person who's very insightful, very psychic, very knowing. And I think that was the message given to her to give to me so I would let go of my guilt. But it wasn't until recently that I realized my guilt was because of my mom. Because she was so angry with me. She never forgave me for what I did. And when I talked to my dad about it, he gave me some insight on that, on why maybe. He asked me, why didn't you come to me? And I said, Mom said you would have been mad. That's twice now, with my depression and with that. But I thought, if I had gone to my dad and I got the help I needed, we didn't have the social media we have now. And I may not have been that big of an advocate as I'm trying to be now. You know, yes, I'm going to just say it straight out. I'm very pro-choice because I don't think we should be telling anybody what they can and cannot do with their bodies. I've never told anyone to get a vaccine. You do your own thing. Okay? You do your own thing. I'm not going to tell you what you can and cannot do with your body. So don't tell me what I can and cannot do with mine. But I want people to know that it was the most difficult, hands down, painful decision I've ever had to make. It still hurts to talk about it. Because, and I was only, I'll be honest with you, I was only like 7 days pregnant when I had mine. So, I mean, it was just a cell, really. But it was still something important to me. And that's something I do have to live with for the rest of my life. But, like I said, it was my choice, and I was able to make that choice. And even though ultimately it ended up being my major choice, I made it. And like I said, what hurt the most was that my mom just couldn't forgive me. But if I take that and I change the narrative on that, I can share it now, and I can share that aspect of our relationship and remind people out there, when your child comes to you with something, even if it does not fit your religious beliefs, because I didn't tell her till a year later. And the saddest part is, I was struggling so hard with that decision, and on the anniversary of it, that I'd called her to ask her to pray for me. And I will tell you, it felt like she took that Bible and hit me over the fucking head with it. She's all, no. She's all, I'll pray for the soul of that child. I'll pray that God forgives you, but I'm not going to pray for you. And for everybody that knows my mom, they're going to be like, wow, that's really out of character for Auntie or Ellen or whatever. And in a way, I think it was. But I think there was something inside of her that thought maybe she failed me. And I know she didn't. I was 23. I made my own decisions. Or 22. I'm sorry, I was 22 at the time, and I made my own decision. But I'm changing the narrative on that now and realizing that if she hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to sit here and talk to people and say, hey, you know what? If you have a kid that comes to you, no matter what across the board, sit down, talk, listen. Do not push them away. We've seen so many people whose families have pushed them away for some of the dumbest reasons in the world. You know, I mean, there are religions out there, and I say it like that, and I'm really sorry because I don't want to be judgy, but if you're not a part of that religion, they shun you. They won't talk to you. How do we get to know people and get to know the differences in people? Because we're so afraid that someone might come in and upend whatever it is we're trying to teach someone. Is that why? Do we put these stipulations on people because of fear? We do. It's all about fear. It's all about the unknown and the craziness. And if we just open ourselves up a little bit more and really, really tried to get to see somebody else's perspective, imagine how much different this world would be. Instead of hating somebody for their religion or for not being religious or their lack of having a God in their life, atheists, agnostics, lots of people hate them because they think, oh, you're going to hell. How do we know they're going to hell? How do we know you're not? I mean, you're literally sitting there judging someone because they don't believe the way you believe. And instead of getting to know somebody, you are pushing them aside because of your own beliefs. Because you think you're right. I can tell you this right now, and this goes for me. Nobody is ever always right. Never. Never. We might think we are sometimes, but I mean, I'm wrong more than I am right. But the nice thing is I also learned a long time ago how to change the narrative on that. And by that I mean, I learn new things. So, give people a chance. If you see someone and you think, oh God, I don't want to talk to them, they look like they're a little off. You never know. I am grateful that my parents raised me to just respect everybody. To just, see everybody at face value and get to know them, or either like, well, okay, I'm going to walk away from that. But like I said, imagine if I were the type of person that says, oh God, here's this kid and he's just like, whatever, I don't want to talk to him. I'm going to turn my back to him and ignore him. I would have missed out on that kind of conversation, that wonderful conversation I had about, all the cinematic Marvel stuff and comic book stuff. And I learned a lot of comic book stuff from him. And that's because I was taught to give everyone a shot. And I'm so grateful I did. And because, we were in that island of misfit toys back in high school on that little island, a patch of grass. I learned how to be more accepting of people because there have been times when I had been shunned and not accepted because, maybe I didn't have a car in high school, or maybe I didn't wear the right kind of clothes. And I got to know the right people, though. And they're a beautiful group of people. And I'm still grateful that I am in touch with some of them still. And I think that's what we really need to focus on. Not what their outer appearance is, but what they bring to the table from the inside, from their heart. Okay, so tomorrow at some point, maybe we'll get to an affirmation. Oh no, tomorrow's Oracle Friday. So the affirmator deck is never going to get read this week. So anyways, I know this was all over the board, guys. I know Baby Simon's going to get mad because I'm not supposed to apologize, but I do apologize for being kind of everywhere in this one. I was feeling kind of low this morning because of the day that it is, but I knew there was something that had to come out and that I had to say during all of this. So it may have felt a little hodgepodgey. It may have felt a little disjointed and just like a bunch of fragment sentences thrown together, right? But thank you for hanging in there, because I do think a lot that was said is very important. And what I really, really want to emphasize and I really, really want to stress is this. I love my mother. I will always love my mother. We had our moments, we had our ups and downs. And, we had, there may have been things that happened in her life that I don't know about, that may have caused her to come at me in certain ways that might not have been the way I'd hoped. you know but like I said, if I change the narrative on the more negative aspects of our relationship and put it into the spin of, now I'm able to do this because I didn't have that support when I needed it, I'm able to turn around and say, you know what, be there for your children. Stop, take all of the judgment out of the situation and just guide them through. Because I tell you, when someone works up enough courage to come to you, to ask you for help, or to say, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or auntie or uncle, whatever, or maybe even a sibling, when they find that courage to come to you, it's taking everything they have in their being. It took everything I had in my being to ask my mom to pray for me, because I was so afraid of how she would react. And unfortunately, so Jessica says, my mom was abusive, but she was reflecting how she was treated as a child, or so I have been told. And that's just it. This is the way I see this. We can be negative and continue the cycle, or we can be proactive and break the cycle. And I really feel, I've had to do an ancestral cord cutting before, and I did it on the other side of my family, for something that was not even directly in my line of sight, but something that needed to be done. But when I did the one yesterday, I realized, and baby sibling even reminded me, she's like, you're cutting, you're not just cutting a cord, you're breaking a cycle. And it's like, damn, I really am. And, I can point at, baby sibling and even Jessica with, the parents they've become. They've broken the cycle. They have decided, I am not going to be the person that raised me. I am not going to be this person that, was hurt and just decided to turn around and hurt me. Because they don't know how to move through their own pain. They don't know how to heal their own pain. And a lot of times it is what it comes from. People keep secrets. They don't share what they should share. They don't get out what they should get out. And it turns around and just pummels the people in front of them that they love so much. And I'm not always sure it's intentional. A lot of times I don't even think they realize they're doing it. But in this case, we can take that, see, and there you go. Somewhere I've written, see, and that's exactly what Jessica just said about cutting the cord is exactly what I was doing. I was cutting, when we hear cutting the cord, we're thinking, oh my God, you're separating completely from that person. No, what you're doing is you're taking, think of it as like, a garden full of weeds, right? We're going back to that garden full of weeds that we talked about earlier in the week. Sometimes weeds are these beautiful, beautiful flowers. And sometimes you have those weeds that literally just kill everything around it. And so what we're doing is, when you cut that cord, is you're going in and you're removing those negative weeds. You're leaving the beautiful flowers, the wild weeds, the ones that just, like the dandelions and all those things. You're leaving those there. I call those wish factories, but you're leaving those there, but you're removing the things that would try to kill everything around it. The weeds that just come up and just try to choke the life out of everything. And when you release those cords, you're just like, whoa. And it can make a big difference. And a lot of people feel like, oh yeah, that's a bunch of hooey, and that's okay. It may not be for you, but for the people who are listening that it is, always be very, very careful, because a lot of times it does involve writing something out and doing a burn ceremony. And that's actually, believe it or not, people make fun of that. But there have been times when I've gone to therapy where they said, well, have you thought about writing a letter and just burning it and throwing the ashes away, like just ridding it? A lot of things we do in our lives are ritualistic. This is going to go over bad for anyone that might be watching that's Catholic, but I grew up Catholic. It's one big long ritual for a whole hour. Sit, stand, kneel. Sit, stand, kneel. First, second reading gospel. Or first, second reading gospel, reading homily, which is where the priest comes down and just gives you his sermon for the week. But it's a ritual. It just depends on what title we put on it. We don't say, oh, I'm going to ritual on Sunday. No, we say I'm going to church on Sunday. Well, we don't say, oh, I'm going to write this letter because my therapist told me to, and I'm going to burn it and throw it away. We call it you just say it's a healing process. To other people, it's a cord cutting ritual. To other people, it's a burn ceremony. A lot of things all tie together. So don't be ashamed of it, okay? Don't be ashamed of it. Don't worry about what other people are going to think. I have a habit. I have a habit of doing positive burn ceremonies, taking the ashes, because I know the ashes are just going to dissipate into the air, and driving down the Pacific Coast Highway and just tossing them out my window. Okay, not the papers, just the smoky stuff. I put it in a glass jar and I open the jar and I let the sunroof take care of everything. But I probably shouldn't be saying that on here. But I always make sure it's just ashes. All right, because I don't want to litter. I'm not into littering. I mean, I'm trying to keep the environment safe. But for me, it's a release. Because the ocean is very special to me. I do love the ocean. I mean, I was born on an island, for God's sakes. I learned how to swim very, very young. And just, I've always found that the water is very cleansing for me. So, if you have to let go of those toxic things, don't be afraid of doing so. But remember, just learn to change the narrative. So there you go. Jessica says almost everything she creates gets burnt at the end, unless it's toxic or shouldn't be burnt for environmental reasons. Okay, exactly. So exactly, right? That's exactly what I'm saying. Sometimes you just, a lot of times I'll put mine in a glass jar and just toss it in the trash. But anyways, everybody has their own way. So I know I'm getting a little off track here, but guys, whatever you need to do to move on from something horrible, do your best first to change the narrative. I know that's not going to fly with a lot of people who are early in their healing. They're going to be like, screw you and changing the narrative. There's nothing good that came out of that. No, I'm not saying that you can change the narrative on trauma. More than likely, you cannot change the narrative on trauma. I can't change the narrative on trauma that I have suffered. But the narrative that I have changed is how I've moved forward. How I've done my best to move away from the anxiety and the pain and the just overall ickiness of it all. And it's still a process. It's still a path. But every day I get better at it. And every day I realize it's because I'm worth it. You're worth it. You're worth moving on from the things that have hurt you, that have, driven you into like some sort of depression, that have driven you into the ground and you're just anxiety riddled. If you need professional help, do not be afraid of that. People stigmatize that too. But we're in this day and age now where it's not as stigmatized. I mean, you have apps that they, talk about on TV. You have actual physical therapists you can see live. All these, there's so many options now. There's support groups. There's therapists that work on a sliding scale. There are always options. There are always options. If you're an emotional eater like I am, or an overeater, they even have one of those, right? Overeaters Anonymous. They have an Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers, all these different anonymous things. And there's always somewhere to go for help. Just the biggest step you're going to have to make in that part of your life, in no matter what direction you move in, is to remind yourself that you are deserving, you are worth it, and that you are free to be whoever you want to be. And don't live in a place of regret. Not all who wander are lost. Maybe you're just trying to find your path. Maybe you have people around you that knew exactly what they wanted to do. And maybe you had to travel a different road than they did. But don't discount your journey, because there's a lot of things you may have done that they never got to do because they chose their direct path. So just going forward, that's my challenge for you today. Just take today and start anew. Take today and say, you know what, today I'm going to have a different mindset. I'm not going to worry about what everybody else around me is doing. I'm going to focus on who I am, what I want to do with my life. Doesn't matter how old I am. Anything's possible. As long as you're breathing, you can accomplish anything you want. Anything you set your mind to. Okay, so I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Tomorrow is Oracle Friday, so if you got thoughts that you need answered, please put them out there. Hopefully Spirit will get back to me. For anybody who's watching this saying, oh God, I'm not watching tomorrow, don't worry about where the message comes from. Focus on the message, because you may be praying to God, asking for something, and He may answer it, and you're going to miss it because you've been judgy. So, I know, look at me being judgy. Oh, not the way I wanted to end that, but, and here's a good one. Jessica just said she created a 2-year plan for some of the things that she wants. There's nothing wrong with planning, guys. I mean, having goals is great. Planning things is great. Thank you, baby bear. I hope you have a wonderful day too. But just, you guys, go out there, live your life. All right, live it without judgment, and especially without judgment on yourself. Don't worry about where you think you're at in life. Just be happy and grateful that you are breathing and you still have the chance to do whatever it is you want to do. So again, tomorrow, Oracle Friday, right here, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, under Shelly Marie Lucas. Facebook Live, it's public. Anybody can watch. If you have a question or you want to jump on live, please do. We'll see if we can answer your questions in. I'll see, not we. Well, me, myself, and I. So we. We'll see if we can answer it. Well, I guess we, because I have to call in Spirit for this one. So, and remember, don't worry about where the message is coming from. Focus on the message, because you don't know who's sending it. You know, if you don't believe in God, but you believe in somebody else, they may be sending it. All right. That's the one joyous thing I have about being a polytheist, is I'm open to everybody. Okay. I'm open to, you know, any spirit or God or goddess out there that wants to talk to me. All right. So again, because I have more than one deity that sits at my table. So I hope everyone has a great day. I do upload these to YouTube afterwards under the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie Lucas. So if you miss it here, or you don't want to go onto Facebook, you are welcome to watch it there. All right. Have a great, great day. I will talk to everyone tomorrow. Thank you for dealing with my all over the placiness today. And thanks so much for watching.